I'm so pleased to have the chance to speak at this really important conference. I'm Joanna Messing, the CEO of Growald Climate Fund, and the reason I'm so excited to speak with you all today is that climate changes everything. When we first started working on climate at Growald Climate Fund, we actually hadn't started as a climate foundation. We started by thinking about all of the things that were important to us. The health of our children, inequality, racial and social justice, pollinators, the beauty of nature, peace and security, air, water, land. And we landed and ended on climate change as the single greatest threat to all of those things that we cared about. Not only is climate change and was climate change the single greatest threat to success on those issues, but also the single greatest opportunity to make a difference, because we've learned that many of the pathways for addressing those issues actually has co-benefits and co-impacts with climate. For example, cleaner air and cleaner water, jobs, impacts on already marginalized communities being even greater from climate change. So we really defined and realized that there was this deep cause and effect, this deep connectivity, and that climate change was a pathway to have an impact on all of the things that we cared about. And we also realized that while climate change can sometimes seem overwhelming and scary and overwhelmingly negative, there's actually another narrative present, which is the narrative of hope. While, of course, it is true that climate change is already creating damage and harming communities and nature, the pathway to solving climate change can also offer a positive and hopeful vision. For example, clean energy offers the positive co-benefits of clean air and clean water and makes economic sense. The transformation to a clean energy economy offers economic opportunities with new businesses, new job development, new technology, new development models. Christiana Figueres speaks of stubborn optimism, and we often use the term relentless optimism. We need that sense of constant optimism and hope, even in the face of various disasters and challenges. But we also need to think about how are we spending our time and our careers in the face of major global crises. When I think about the arc of my life and how I've spent my time and my career, I often link it with climate goals. I began this work the year before my son was born in 2006. So when I think about goals, then we were thinking about 2020, 2025. Now we're thinking about 2030 and 2040 climate goals, which we hear about in the news. So when I think about 2040 as a climate goal, I'll be 66. And I hope that I will be able to retire knowing that we actually raised and met the challenge and met the need to shift our world towards climate mitigation goals required. But even if we haven't, I will know that I've spent my life working for a future for my son and his children, for your children, with your children, for the flowers, for the bees, for peace, for jobs. The pathway is not clear. We're creating a new pathway together. But the promise that this offers is the optimism and the hope of creating a pathway. That's what gets me out of bed every morning, and that's what we work together here at Growald Climate Fund and with our partners on. And one of the fundamental promises of climate opportunity to think about in this conference and as it relates to this conversation over these days is jobs. Of course, there's the practical point that energy transition and climate resilience and adaptation and development along a climate-friendly pathway will require investment, new jobs, new businesses, new technology, new solutions. Also, in every disruption, there comes great opportunity for those new solutions and new technologies. That means a whole new sector of opportunity. There's a way to think about every job as a climate job, whether it's in a corporation, whether it's in government, thinking about how every company will need to build climate risk, resilience, and opportunity into their business models. But there's also ways to dedicate your career to climate change through business, through government, but also through the nonprofit sector. Each of those sectors is growing the number of jobs and the talent required to get into it. We need to implement existing solutions. We need to find new solutions. We need to partner together across the sectors. And while this is offering a practical opportunity in terms of a lot of new jobs, the other thing is the promise of meaningful work. I discussed before the sense that I have of knowing that I will be spending my career working on something meaningful. But we also had a lot of conversations during COVID about the meaning of work and how we individually find meaningful work. I fundamentally believe that when we find meaning in work, we also find and live a more purposeful and satisfying life. So that's the other part of the opportunity that's being offered here. I particularly have expertise in nonprofits and would really encourage people to consider the nonprofit sector, which has the role of raising ambition of the government and corporate sectors, providing vision and accountability, but also offering expertise, providing the opportunity to experiment and pilot solutions that can then be scaled by the other sectors, and which is also a sector where the bottom line is people and planet. So whichever pathway you choose, I hope that you find meaning and that you join us in the pathway towards a healthy climate for people and planet. Thank you.